The ICU was silent except for the rhythmic beeping of machines. Every sound in that sterile room carried a sense of fear. A 5-year-old boy lay motionless beneath a web of tubes, his skin pale, his lips tinged blue. His name was Matteo Duca, the only son of Vincent Duca, a man whose name made the entire city whisper. 100 doctors had tried and failed to save the boy, but tonight everything was about to change, because a janitor walked in. Maya Williams pushed her mop bucket down the corridor, her shoes squeaking softly against the polished tiles. To everyone else, she was invisible, a cleaning lady in faded blue scrubs meant to fade into the background. But when she glanced at the monitor near Matteo's bed, her heart stopped. The boy's gums were blue, his hair brittle, and faint tremors rippled through his tiny hands. It wasn't a mystery illness. It was something far worse. "Stop the IV," Maya shouted suddenly. The nurses froze. Heads turned. Dr. Carter, the senior physician, spun around with fury flashing in his eyes. "What did you just say?" He barked. "I said stop the IV," she repeated, already moving toward the bed. "That boy is being poisoned." Before she could reach him, pain exploded across her back. Dr. Carter had swung a plastic baton from the crash cart and slammed it between her shoulder blades. She stumbled forward but refused to fall. "You crazy janitor," he yelled. "You'll kill him." "I'm trying to save him," Maya gasped, steadying herself on the bed rail. "I'm not just a janitor. I'm a nurse, 8 years in NICU." Carter's face turned red with anger. "You're nothing but a cleaning lady who can't let go of her dead kid. You think you know more than we do?" His words sliced through the room, but Maya didn't back down. The monitors screamed louder and Matteo's chest heaved in distress. Then the door opened. A tall man in a tailored suit stepped inside, his presence enough to silence every breath in the room. In his hand gleamed a small black pistol. Vincent Duca, the boy's father, the city's most feared man. "Step away from my son," he said quietly. Maya froze but raised her hands. "If you shoot me," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her fingers, "he dies." Vincent's eyes narrowed. "You don't know me. You've hired 100 doctors," Maya said firmly, "flown them in from Boston, Paris, Chicago, and none of them thought to check for poison." She swallowed hard. "But your son isn't dying from disease. He's being killed." Vincent hesitated. "Poison?" he whispered. "Yes," Maya said. "Someone with access is doing this. And right now, you're pointing that gun at the only person trying to stop it." Carter's voice cracked the silence. "She's delusional, Mr. Duca. She attacked me." Maya turned, showing the fresh bruise already forming on her back. "Because you're afraid I'll prove you wrong." For a long, tense moment, no one moved. Then Matteo whimpered softly. Vincent looked at his son, his jaw trembling, his grip on the gun loosening. "What do I do?" he asked quietly. "Run a heavy metal test," Maya said. "Stop that IV until you know what's inside. If I'm wrong, I'll walk out and never come back. But if I'm right, you might still save him." The room went silent. Then Vincent spoke. "Do it." The nurses exchanged uneasy glances. Carter hesitated, but Vincent's cold stare cut through the air. "Do it," he repeated. The IV pump stopped. The monitor steadied just slightly, but enough. Vincent holstered the gun. "You're a nurse?" he asked, his voice low. "I was," Maya replied quietly, "until my son died because someone didn't listen." Vincent's face softened for the first time that night. "Forgive me," he whispered. "You can't protect him by threatening the wrong person," she said softly. "Protect him by listening." Vincent nodded slowly. "Stay until the results come back." Hours later, the results arrived. The test confirmed it. Acute thallium poisoning. Intentional, slow, methodical. Someone had tried to murder Matteo Duca. That night, Vincent didn't sleep. He sat in a chair beside his son's bed, eyes fixed on the monitors. He had trusted the best doctors in the world, but it was a janitor, a woman with a mop, who had saved his child. He made a call to one of his men. "Find out who she is," he said coldly. "Everything." Later, Maya was leaning against the nurse's station, her body aching but her mind sharp. When Vincent approached her, she straightened. "You were right," he said simply. Maya didn't respond. "How did you know?" he asked. "I've seen it before," she said softly. "Once a baby girl whose father worked at a pesticide plant. And once in my own son." Vincent's expression changed. "Your son?" She nodded. They blamed me, said I made a mistake, took my license. But it was their error, not mine. He studied her, seeing something he hadn't seen in a long time, courage without fear. You risked your life for my boy, he said. I risked it for the truth, she replied. Vincent motioned for her to follow him. He led her into a small private room where one of his security men stood waiting with a folder. Inside were photos of her apartment, her old hospital ID, even a picture of her holding a little boy. You had me followed? Maya asked quietly. I had to know who walked into my ICU and shouted at my doctors, Vincent said. Now I know you're clean, but more than that, you're fearless. And I need that. For what? She asked. To find out who's trying to kill my son. Maya hesitated. You already have a hospital full of people. I don't trust them, he said. Not after what happened tonight. She looked at him for a long moment. I'll help you, but on one condition. When this is over, I want my name cleared. I want my license back. Vincent nodded without hesitation. Done, I swear it. Before they could speak again, a nurse burst in. Something's wrong with Dr. Carter. They followed her down the hall. Carter lay convulsing on a gurney, foam spilling from his mouth as two residents tried to restrain him. Maya stared through the glass. It looks like thallium, she murmured. But a much higher dose. Vincent's eyes darkened. To silence him? Or to frame me, Maya whispered. If you hadn't stopped them, I'd be the one in cuffs right now. Vincent turned to his security chief. Lock this floor down. No one leaves. No one enters. Maya realized this wasn't just a hospital case anymore. It was something far bigger. Someone inside these walls was running a game none of them understood, and she had just placed herself right in the middle of it. As Vincent turned to her, his voice was low and steady. You've seen corruption before? Yes, she said. But never like this. Then we fight it, he said. Together, she nodded. Start by tracing everyone who's touched Mateo's case. Every doctor, every nurse, every medication batch. Someone's fingerprints are on this, Vincent almost smiled. You sound like a detective. I wanted to be a healer, she said quietly. But sometimes to heal, you have to uncover the rot first. Vincent's gaze hardened. Then let's find the rot. Lightning flashed outside, followed by the distant echo of a hospital alarm. Somewhere unseen, a camera light blinked twice, then went dark. Far above them, in a shadowed control room, a figure leaned forward over a wall of monitors, voice cold and sharp. The janitor wasn't supposed to interfere, they hissed. Now she's a problem. And then came the order that would set the next chain of events in motion. Handle it. The hospital didn't sleep that night. The fluorescent lights buzzed like nervous energy, and whispers followed every passing nurse. Something had shifted. Fear lingered in the air like a living thing. Dr. Carter was in critical condition, and the story of the janitor who stopped a murder spread through the halls faster than gossip ever could. Maya sat at the nurse's station, her back aching, her mind restless. Every creak of the floor made her flinch. Somewhere above her, hidden eyes were watching. She knew it. She could feel it. And whoever they were, they weren't finished. Vincent Duca appeared beside her without a sound. Even in the harsh hospital light, his presence was commanding, a storm wrapped in a suit. You were right, he said simply. Carter was poisoned. Maya looked up slowly. By who? That's what we're going to find out. His tone wasn't a question. It was a declaration. He motioned for her to follow, and she did, down the corridor and into a small private office guarded by one of his men. Inside, the air was thick with tension and the faint smell of gun oil. Andrew, Vincent's head of security, stood near a table covered with files. He was sharp-eyed, quiet, and dangerous in the way men trained to survive usually were. We pulled everything we could, he said, sliding a folder toward Maya. Staff schedules, lab reports, security feeds. Maya sat down and opened the folder. Her eyes darted over the pages, her nurse's instinct kicking in. She recognized the same names repeating across different shifts, one of them more than any other. Melissa Stone, a nurse, young, experienced, too perfect on paper. She handled Mateo's IV the morning he first crashed, Maya said, tapping her finger on the page. She also prepped his replacement fluids. And look here, she changed the bag before the attending physician arrived. That's not protocol. Vincent leaned over her shoulder, eyes narrowing. You think she's the one? I think she's the first thread, Maya replied. And whoever she's working for won't hesitate to cut her loose if we pull on it. Vincent straightened. Then let's pull. An hour later, Melissa walked into the staff break room, unaware that she was being watched. Maya sat in the corner, pretending to read a file, while Vincent and Andrew monitored through a security feed. Melissa moved with the easy grace of someone confident in her role, too confident. She poured herself a cup of coffee, smiled at another nurse, then froze when she noticed Maya. Their eyes met. Maya smiled politely. "Melissa, right?" she asked, standing. "I wanted to thank you for taking care of Mateo these last few weeks." Melissa's lips curved, but her eyes didn't. "Of course. Poor thing. Such a sweet boy." Maya nodded, keeping her tone even. "He's stable now. We figured out what was wrong. Thallium poisoning." Melissa's smile faltered just enough for Maya to notice. "Poisoning," she repeated, feigning shock. "Yes," Maya said softly. "Very specific. Very traceable. It'll all come down to who handled his medication." She paused deliberately. "And when?" Melissa's hand trembled slightly as she lifted her cup. "That's terrible," she whispered. Maya watched her go, her suspicion solidifying like ice. Back in Vincent's private suite, Andrew pulled up surveillance stills. "She's been meeting someone off-site," he said, showing Vincent a photo. "Same man 3 times in the last month. Gray jacket, no ID. Facial recognition flagged him. Private contractor. Ex-military medic. Name's Calvin Knox." Maya felt her stomach drop. "He's not staff." "Not even on record," Andrew said. "But he's been in and out of the building using access badges cloned from employees." "She's working for someone," Maya muttered. "Someone inside and someone outside." Vincent's jaw tightened. "Then we make her talk." "No," Maya said quickly. "If you confront her now, they'll just erase her. She'll vanish and we'll lose the trail. We need to make her feel safe, like she got away with it." Vincent frowned. "That's not how I deal with betrayal. It's how we survive this," she countered. "If you want justice, we have to play the long game." For a moment, Vincent said nothing. Then he nodded once. "What's the plan?" "We set a trap," Maya said. "We fake a change in Mateo's treatment, something that would react badly with thallium. If she's still involved, she'll try to sabotage it. And if she doesn't, someone else will." That night, under Maya's direction, the team planted the bait. They added a new treatment protocol to Mateo's digital file, a fake medication order with a built-in tracer code. Anyone who accessed it would leave a digital fingerprint. At 2:14 a.m., the system pinged. Someone had accessed the chart. At 2:17, an order appeared to replace Mateo's IV. The access badge used Melissa Stone. But the camera footage told a different story. The person in the footage wasn't Melissa. It was someone else, a woman in a hoodie and surgical mask, moving with precision. Her face was hidden, but her badge was visible. Melissa's badge. "They stole her access," Maya said, horror creeping into her voice. Vincent's tone turned lethal. "Where is she?" They found Melissa minutes later, slumped in her car in the parking garage. A faint pulse, an IV puncture mark on her arm. She'd been dosed with something, enough to silence her but not kill her. Maya crouched beside her, checking her vitals. "She's alive," she said, "but barely." Vincent's eyes were cold steel. They got to her first. Upstairs, in a hidden room somewhere within the hospital's network, the same shadowed figure watched through a wall of monitors. "She's getting too close," a voice said through a headset. "Eliminate her." Maya didn't sleep that night. She sat in the on-call room, her back against the wall, staring at the blood drying on her scrubs. The hospital hummed quietly beyond the door. Machines, footsteps, whispers. But her mind was racing. Everywhere she looked, the system felt tainted. Too many lies, too many secrets, too many people willing to look the other way. A knock broke her thoughts. Andrew stepped in, expression grim. "We traced the masked intruder," he said. "It wasn't Melissa. Different build. Different gait. Probably another insider," Maya frowned. "How deep does this go?" "Deep enough that we've been compromised," Andrew replied. "Vincent's orders are clear. You're off the floor for now. No patient rounds, no direct access. You operate from the private wing only." "I can't do that," Maya said firmly. "I need to look people in the eyes." "That's how I know who's lying," Andrew sighed. "We received an anonymous message through one of our secure channels. No name, just a warning." Maya stood up. "What kind of warning?" "They're going to make it look like an accident," he said flatly. Elevator malfunction. Gas leak, overdose, you won't see it coming. For a long moment, Maya said nothing. Then she nodded. Good, she said quietly. That means they're scared. It means we're close, Andrew tilted his head. You're not afraid? I'm always afraid, she said. But fear keeps me alive. The next morning, Vincent walked into Mateo's room just after sunrise. The boy's cheeks were less pale, his breathing steadier. Maya stood beside the bed, clipboard in hand. Exhaustion written across her face, but determination burning behind her eyes. He's improving, she said softly. The treatment's working. Vincent looked down at his son, then back at her. You found something, didn't you? I think so, she said. The pharmacy technician who prepped the IV batches, his name's Paul Sanders. Only he doesn't exist. No HR record. No address, nothing. Andrew entered then, his voice grim. We ran his face through our system. Real name, Calvin Knox, ex-military medic. Discharged for unapproved testing on human subjects overseas. Vanished 2 years ago. Maya exhaled slowly. They didn't just hire him. They planted him. Vincent's hand tightened into a fist. And now? Gone, Andrew said. Disappeared right after Melissa was found. Maya rubbed her temples. They're erasing the trail. They're also setting you up, Andrew said. Someone accessed hospital servers last night. Downloaded files on you, on Melissa, on Mateo. They're building a story that you're the one behind it. They're trying to frame me, she whispered. Vincent's gaze was cold. Then we need something they can't fake. Proof. Maya's eyes hardened. I need access to the hospital's supply database. The real one, not the public logs. The back end where shipments are archived. Andrew frowned. That's heavily restricted. Then get me in, she said. Even if it's just for 20 minutes. Vincent didn't hesitate. Do it. That night the hospital was quiet. Maya sat alone in a dim conference room. Laptop open, fingers trembling slightly as she typed. Andrew had bypassed the firewall. She was in line by line, she traced shipment records. Most looked normal. Then she found it. Batch number MX44713. Labeled as pediatric hydration solution. Shipped under a fake supplier name. Inside the chemical breakdown traced thallium sulfate. Her blood ran cold. Someone had hidden poison inside a routine medical shipment. She printed the file, took photos on her phone, and backed it up twice. She had proof now. Real, undeniable proof. But as she turned toward the door, the handle clicked. Her breath caught. The lights flickered. A shadow stepped into the room. Not a nurse. Not a doctor. And then, darkness. The conference room went black. The air felt heavy, charged as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Maya froze, every instinct screaming danger. Who's there? She whispered, no answer. Only the soft hum of the emergency lights flickering back to life. A figure stood by the door, tall, broad, wearing a black hospital coat. She couldn't see the face, only the glint of metal in his hand. Step away from the computer, a voice ordered. Calm, but deadly. Maya's pulse raced. She recognized that tone, steady, rehearsed military. Calvin Knox, she breathed. He smiled faintly under the dim light. You shouldn't have come back here, Nurse Williams. I'm not your nurse, she said, stepping backward. And I'm not done yet. He moved closer, his shadow swallowing the light. You were supposed to clean floors, not expose billion-dollar experiments. Experiments? She asked, her voice shaking but her mind alert. Knox tilted his head. The thallium wasn't meant to kill the boy. It was meant to control him. His father funds more than just hospitals. He funds progress, even if it's built on collateral damage. Maya's breath caught. You poisoned a child. I followed orders, he said coldly. You think I wanted to? I did what I had to. But you... He pointed the syringe toward her. You're going to undo everything. Before he could move, the door burst open. Vincent Duca stepped in, gun drawn, eyes burning with fury. Put it down, he growled. Knox turned, but his smile didn't fade. You think you're in control here, Vincent? I said put it down, Vincent repeated. Knox chuckled softly. You should have stayed out of your son's file. You were never supposed to see what's inside. What's inside? Vincent demanded. Knox's voice turned quiet, almost sympathetic. The records you read aren't just medical. They're part of a program, one you helped fund years ago without even knowing.
Genetic enhancements.
Test subjects. The perfect heir. Vincent's blood ran cold. You're lying, am I? Knox asked, tossing a file onto the floor. Inside were copies of Mateo's medical reports, but with pages Vincent had never seen. Experimental markers, genetic mapping, notes signed by research coordinators who didn't exist. Vincent's hands trembled. "What is this?" "Proof," Knox said simply. "Your son isn't sick because of bad luck. He's sick because of science, your science." Maya's mind reeled. She looked between them. "You're saying this child was engineered?" "Refined," Knox corrected. "Modified for endurance, for intelligence." But things went wrong. His system began rejecting the modifications. Thallium slowed the rejection, kept him stable. "But you—" He pointed at Maya, interrupted it. Maya's stomach turned. "You're insane." Knox smiled. "No, Nurse Williams. I'm just efficient." Vincent's voice broke through the tension like a gunshot. "You hurt my boy. You think you'll walk out of here alive?" Knox raised his syringe, but before he could react, Vincent fired. The shot echoed down the corridor. The syringe shattered. Knox collapsed, clutching his shoulder, blood spilling across the sterile floor. Maya rushed forward, grabbing the syringe remnants and tossing them away. "He's still alive," she said breathlessly. Vincent's jaw tightened. "He won't be for long if he doesn't start talking." Knox groaned. "You can't stop it. It's bigger than you. Than me, the experiments. They're everywhere now. Who's behind it?" Maya demanded. "Who gave the orders?" Knox coughed, his voice fading. "The man who signs your paychecks." And then his head dropped forward. He was gone. The silence that followed felt endless. Vincent stood motionless, eyes fixed on the lifeless body. His whole world had just shifted. He wasn't fighting to save his son from a disease. He was fighting to undo his own creation. Maya slowly turned toward him. "He wasn't lying," she said softly. "The medical logs, the test markers, they were hidden under research codes. Someone inside the Foundation's biotech wing engineered this." Vincent's voice trembled. "My boy, my own money did this to him?" "Yes," she whispered. "But you didn't know. They used your funding as cover." Vincent clenched his fists. "Then they'll pay." By dawn, the hospital was crawling with law enforcement, though not the kind that wore badges. Vincent had his own network. Men in suits who cleaned up what the world never saw. Knox's body vanished before the first nurse clocked in. The computer logs were wiped. Officially, nothing had happened. But the truth lingered. In his office, Vincent stared out the window at the city skyline, haunted and furious. Maya stood behind him, holding the file she had saved before the power outage. "You can still expose this," she said. "There are other victims, other trials." Vincent turned, his face unreadable. "And if I do, my son dies. They'll make sure of it." Maya hesitated. "Then we find another way." He shook his head. "You don't understand. Mateo's condition, it's not just poisoning anymore. The modifications in his blood, they're spreading. The thallium was holding it back. Without it, he's fading." She stepped closer. "Then we fix him properly. No more toxins. No more lies. You have the money, the labs, the reach, and let's use it for good." Vincent's eyes softened for the first time in hours. "You really believe redemption's possible?" "I have to," she said. "Otherwise, I wouldn't still be standing here." For a long moment, neither spoke. The morning light filtered through the blinds, slicing across the floor in pale gold stripes. Somewhere, a monitor beeped faintly. Mateo's heartbeat steady but fragile. Then a new sound cut through the quiet. A phone rang. Vincent answered. His expression changed instantly, from exhaustion to alarm. "What?" he barked. "Say that again." Maya's pulse quickened. "What is it?" Vincent hung up. "Mateo's gone." The words hit like a blade. They ran down the corridor, pushing through startled nurses and guards. Mateo's bed was empty. The IV stand toppled. The heart monitor still beeping to a void. A single note lay on the pillow, scrawled in neat block letters. "If you want your son back, stop digging." Maya's knees weakened. Vincent tore the note in half, his eyes burning with rage. "They took him," he growled. "They actually took my son." Maya swallowed hard. "Whoever's behind this has deep connections. Hospital systems, private labs, even law enforcement. They can move without being seen." Vincent turned to Andrew, who had just arrived, weapon drawn. "Find them," he said coldly. "All of them." Andrew nodded and disappeared down the hall. Maya looked at Vincent. If you go after them your way, they'll kill him. You have to think. Vincent's voice shook. He's all I have left. Then trust me, Maya said, grabbing his arm. They took him because they need leverage. That means he's still alive. We can find him, but not with guns. With evidence. Vincent stared at her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Where do we start? She took a deep breath. With the one place they think we're too afraid to go. The Foundation's private research wing. That night, they broke in. The lab was hidden beneath the hospital, accessible only through a restricted elevator Vincent's men had unlocked. The air was cold and sterile, filled with the faint hum of machines. Rows of glass chambers lined the walls, each filled with soft blue light. Maya stepped closer and froze. Inside the chambers were medical pods. Not empty ones. Each held a child. Pale, motionless, connected to tubes and wires. Oh my God, she whispered. They're not patients. They're experiments. Vincent's jaw clenched as he walked past the pods. Each had a label, test numbers, not names. Mateo's number was among them. Maya pressed a trembling hand against the glass. They planned for him to be replaced. Over and over a voice echoed from behind them. Impressive, isn't it? They turned. A man in a white coat stepped out of the shadows, calm, composed, eyes cold as glass. Dr. Wexler, Vincent said, recognizing him. You run the Foundation. I do, Wexler said simply. And I see you've met my prototypes. Prototypes? Maya whispered. Every generation improves, Wexler said. Smarter, stronger, immune to disease. Mateo was our most successful until you intervened. Vincent raised his gun. Where is he? Wexler smiled faintly, alive. For now. But understand, Mr. Duca, your son isn't just yours anymore. He's property. Company asset number 731. You're insane, Maya said, stepping forward. You can't own a child. Wexler tilted his head. You'd be surprised what signatures on a research grant can authorize. Vincent's hand trembled, rage boiling beneath the surface. Give me my son, you'll get him, Wexler said. Once you sign a new agreement. One that ensures your silence. Otherwise, he nodded toward the far chamber. We start over. Maya moved before she could think. She slammed the alarm switch on the wall. Red lights flooded the room. Sirens wailed, "Run!" she yelled. Vincent grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the exit as armed guards stormed in. Bullets shattered glass. Chemical smoke filled the air. One of the pods burst, spilling fluid across the floor. They barely made it to the elevator before the explosion hit. The shockwave threw them to the ground. When the doors closed, the lab below was consumed in fire hours later. As dawn broke, emergency crews swarmed the site. The Foundation building was gone. The experiments, destroyed. But Mateo was found. Alive. Hidden in an isolation unit behind the West Wing, weak but breathing. Maya stood beside his bed, tears in her eyes. He's safe, she whispered. Vincent nodded silently. Because of you. She looked at him. Because of us. Weeks later, the scandal broke. The city learned of the illegal experiments. The Foundation crumbled. Arrests were made. And Maya Williams, the janitor who had defied 100 doctors, was reinstated as a licensed nurse. On the day she left the hospital for the last time, Vincent met her outside. Mateo stood beside him, smiling shyly. You saved us, Vincent said. Maya smiled faintly. No. You saved yourself when you chose to listen. As they parted, the wind carried the faint sound of sirens far in the distance. The city would forget the headlines soon enough, but in one small corner of it a boy lived. Not as an experiment, not as an heir, but as a child finally free. And the woman who had once been invisible walked away, head high, leaving behind the hospital that would never forget her name.